And today we are delighted to have Mead from Semio. Just a quick introduction for Ross. So Ross is the CEO of Semio and is the general organizer of the 2024 International Symposium on Technological Advances in Human-Robot Interaction, which is a leading event in HRI research. His academic background includes a PhD and an MS in computer science from the University of Southern California, and a BS in computer science from University of Illinois, Edwardsville. His research focuses on socially assistive robots and serves as the foundation for Semio's interesting software stack. In addition to his work at Semio, he's also involved in 3 nonprofit organizations, the Semio Community, AILA, and the KISS Institute for Practical Robotics. He co-founded the Social Robot Community Slack team in 2018 to foster an international robotics and natural language technologies community. Dr. Mead has also provided technical and scientific advisory services to companies such as Disney, Intel, and National Geographic. And today we are excited to have him with us to talk about TAHRI, which is the International Symposium on Technological Advances in Human-Robot Interaction. So I will stop sharing now, and the floor is all yours, Ross.
Thanks for having me. As I said, I am Ross Mead. I am the founder and CEO of Semio, a longtime sponsor and ongoing, will be continuing sponsorship for Talking Robotics. Also the executive director for Semio Community, which is the nonprofit sort of side of Semio. But for the purposes of today, my primary role is as the general organizer for TAHRI, which is the International Symposium on Technological Advances in Human-Robot Interaction. And so a lot of what we'll be talking about today, I'm going to give an overview of this new event. We'll be talking about the event. I'll give an overview, and then we'll go a little bit deeper into the history and why we're doing this, and what the plans are for moving forward. So just for starters, TAHRI 2024 is the premier symposium for HRI research focused on the advancement of the underlying technology that is enabling the interaction between a robot and a human. So we're much more focused on the technological HRI side of things. We will be focused on topics like robot platforms themselves, software platforms for human-robot interaction, hardware, software, sensors, actuators, recognition systems, behavior generation systems, data sets, benchmarks, perception control systems, a really broad array of technological contributions in HRI. This event is being held March 9th and 10th of 2024 in Boulder, Colorado, at the University of Colorado, Boulder. That makes it 2 days before and co-located with the HRI conference. And so by having it here, the idea is to bring some elements of the human-robot interaction community who might not necessarily be going to the HRI conference. They might typically publish other places such as IROS, ICRA, RSS, trying to bring them more into the fold with the broader HRI community. And so our goal, again, is to unite, broaden, and promote this community that is focused on the technological ideas and research that is trying to advance human-robot interaction and accelerate transition from research to application. And so really, this is more than a venue. This is really all about community building and trying to sort of sustain this community. And what I really want to go into now is just talking about the efforts, the different communities that have been out there that kind of led to the formation of TAHRI. And so a lot of the conversations actually started back in 2014 with the Artificial Intelligence for Human-Robot Interaction Symposium at the AAAI Fall Symposium Series. And so I've been a co-organizer of this event for, I think, 8 of the 10 years. And AI HRI is where a lot of the conversation started. A lot of people kind of came and expressed interest in gathering a very specific kind of community that is, part of the general HRI community. And this has been going on for 10 years. This actually just ended a few weeks ago. It's like 2 weeks ago. We had our final AI HRI symposium, and so that community is now transitioning entirely to TAHRI. Now, TAHRI is much more broad than AI HRI. AI HRI was focused on just the AI contributions, whereas we are much more broad, including things like hardware and other technological contributions. But AI HRI itself resulted in two different special issues in transactions on human-robot interaction focused on this topic. Back in 2018, we held a workshop at the HRI conference on social robots in the wild. Here, we were really trying to bring in more of an industry flavor to HRI contributions. Also, for the past 5 years, in partnership with NIST, we've been running events at workshops at HRI 2019 to 2023 on test methods and metrics for accessible and effective human-robot interaction. Those events themselves actually translated into two different IEEE standards working groups, for standard terminology for human-robot interaction, as well as recommended practice for HRI design of human subject studies. And NSF has supported workshops that are focused on dialogue with robots. So this is a workshop where most of the people represented at the event are not people who are typically at either our HRI conference or even IROS or ICRA or RSS. These are people who might go more to places like SIGDIAL or AAAI. And so, again, a lot of what we're trying to do is bring them more into the fold. Earlier this year, we held a AAAI Spring Symposium on HRI in academia and industry, again, trying to bring more of industry representation into human-robot interaction, and that led to a special session at Roman. And actually, conversations from that event led to the organization of another AAAI symposium this year on unifying representations for robot application development. And so the reason I'm bringing all these things up is because it's to simply show that there are all these different communities having very similar conversations, and a lot of them aren't necessarily gathering at any one place. And that's really what we're trying to do with TAHRI. A lot of these events that I've shown you are where conversations were happening, and that led us to try and build a more formal platform for this community. Now, going beyond the conversations, we've had other ways that we've been engaging with this community over the past year. A lot of it has actually been through surveys. So we've sent out a lot of surveys, and I'm going to show two of them here that kind of were like the foundations of a lot of what we did. These QR codes are active, and you are invited to take these surveys if you would like. They will always be online, and so we do go back and kind of check to see if we're getting new responses, and that will allow us to kind of always keep our programming fresh for TAHRI. So the first was the original survey, just to figure out, hey, we believe that there's a community here. How do they currently gather? What are the challenges that they're facing in disseminating, their technological HRI work, and what would they like to see either at existing events or in a new event? And then also this one here was a follow-up to that. So researchers had identified some challenges in disseminating technological HRI work. And so we developed a second survey to try and dig deeper into that. And that's actually the survey that I would recommend if people want to get more involved. That's the one to take. These will pop up a few times throughout the presentation. And at the very, very end, I'll have both QR codes in the lower left and right corners, so you'll be able to scan those then as well. So feel free to take them when you can. For the original survey, so the three big takeaways that we had were that technological HRI researchers felt like visitors with no home. That was the big takeaway. So really, and again, like this framing came from conversations that we had at other events, and it was quantified more in these surveys. What we have are people who are building out technologies to enable human-robot interactions, and they would publish them at HRI or IROS, all these different places, and they felt like they were just a small pocket. of those broader communities, but they didn't feel like there was one tent in which they would all necessarily be gathering. So it was a very disjoint community. Specifically, they also felt like they could search for, but struggled to find technological HRI research in any one venue. So they could search for and find technological HRI research, but it was split across all these different places. But there was no one place where they felt like they could trust to go and consistently get this kind of content. Similarly, they felt like they could submit their work, but wouldn't necessarily consistently publish in any one place. Again, they could do it across multiple places, but not any one place. In the places that they're searching for, finding, submitting, and publishing their work are places like HRI, IROS, Roman, ICRA, et cetera. One I will also mention here is THRI, Transactions in Human-Robot Interaction. However, that is a journal, so there are no people gathering for that. And so really the big question we had is, where does this community gather? Where's their central home? That's what we're trying to do with TAHRI, is trying to make TAHRI be that home where these folks can gather and really talk about the tech that drives HRI. Now, based on that, we had this follow-up survey in which we were trying to delve deeper into these 4 core challenges that researchers had identified in disseminating HRI work. So the first was the focus of the forum at which they were submitting. So oftentimes the feeling was either that the venue might be a bit too broad. So a place like IROS or ICRA, it's very general robotics. The scope is way too broad for them. Whereas some symposia might be a bit too focused, or even HRI itself, they might feel like the focus for them was not necessarily well aligned. If they're trying to focus on technological contributions, maybe they would have to go a bit. They felt the need to also have a novel studies contribution as well. I will say, by the way, that is changed, I believe, quite a bit with this year's HRI. I think they've done a fantastic job in improving the technical and systems tracks, and I think it shows with the number of submissions that they've got this year. Reviewer guidelines was a major problem that people brought up. Again, just feeling that the guidelines on the reviews weren't well aligned with the types of technological contributions people were trying to have. Oftentimes, again, if it was submitted to a more general robotics conference, the human factor side might not be as well represented. Whereas if it was going to a place like perhaps IROS, HRI, then the feeling might be the focus might be too much on the human factor side of things. And so trying to strike a balance was really part of what we were trying to do with TAHRI. Also, generally, reviewer alignment, it was the same kind of issue with the reviewer guidelines. A lot of us have appropriate qualifications, but I think we're all kind of calibrated for either certain mentalities with more general robotics conferences or with a place like HRI or Roman. So trying to, again, get our reviewers in the right mindset for these kinds of contributions is a challenge that we wanted to overcome. And the last one was acceptance rates. This was a big one that came up from folks, is how do you actually develop out, establish proper acceptance rates for an event like this? It could be highly selective, but that could exclude parts of the community. You don't want it to be you don't want to be too open so as that the quality of the event goes down. And so how can we be inclusive and community focused while also setting standards for the quality of papers that we've got? So again, these are the 2 surveys. Feel free to take them when you get a chance. But these are the foundations for what motivated the organization of TAHRI. So from that, especially this year's focus is themed around building bridges between builders. The first focus is on building a community of technological researchers spanning academia, industry, government, and other research groups. So again, with the symposia and the Roman special session that we had done in the past, really it was about bringing industry and government more into the fold with academic research groups. And we're planning to make that be a foundational element of what TAHRI is. In general, building a home. So again, trying to have one venue where everyone can gather rather than being these small pockets at all these other venues. And then going beyond just this current event, building a long-term platform for community-driven solutions to challenges in disseminating technological HRI work, where that work could be not just papers, but also code that people write for their experiments, for their research. It could be data sets, it could be benchmarks, all of these kinds of things, trying to gather all that content in one place so it can be a resource for researchers. And so TAHRI is an inclusive, community-focused venue that's inviting novel, high-quality technological HRI papers that are going to be peer-reviewed in what we're kind of calling a flexible process, which I'll get into a second. Presented live at the symposium. So every paper that is published will have an in-person presentation, though we will have virtual options available. And maybe most importantly, due to the strong request of the community, this will all full papers will be indexed and archived ACM proceedings. Now there are 3 different kinds of papers that we're inviting. 2 of them are pretty common. One of them is a bit more novel. So the first is a standard review paper. This is your standard 6 to 8 page paper. This is for technological HRI work that you would like to have go through the traditional full peer review process. The fixed deadline for this is December 1st. And the other end of this is the short paper. So these are 2 to 4 pages. These will not be indexed in the ACM proceedings. They'll be on the in the online digital proceedings. And this is for ongoing or recent technological HRI work, or any work that's got preliminary results, things that seem promising. It could also be papers that are just reporting on artifacts that can be shared within the community. Now, the more novel one, and an area where we've just been trying to listen to the community, is what we're calling a rapid review paper. And this is a bit of an experiment, and we put a lot of time and effort into trying to get this right. This is for technological HRI work that was previously reviewed, and it was either not indexed or not published. And if it is revised and submitted to us along with review materials, additional review materials, we're trying to get back to authors within 3 weeks of the time of submission. So unlike the other 2, which have fixed deadlines, this has a rolling deadline going up until January 19th. So let's say if you were to submit on this coming Monday, when our submission site opens, our goal is to try to get back to you in about 3 weeks as to whether or not you've been accepted. Now, this is a bit of a weird one, and so I'm going to try and talk through what our plans are with this. So first, for a rapid review paper, the first thing that you'll submit is you're going to submit the previously reviewed paper. And when you submit this kind of like starts a process with the TAHRI organizing committee internally. So once you submit this paper, and there's some other information like where it was previously submitted, et cetera. Once you submit that to us, what we're going to do is we reach out to the other, to the event at which you had originally submitted this paper. And our goal is to try and get the original reviews that were submitted for your paper. And there's a long list of reasons as to why we have to go about doing it this way. We've learned a lot about copyrights around reviews, which is a bit questionable. I'd say it's a general question in the research community globally. But this is a process that NeurIPS has used in the past, and it seems pretty effective. And so it's good enough for them. Hopefully it's good enough for us. But you'll submit this paper, and we go through this process. And then hopefully shortly thereafter, you submit to us a summary, your summary of reviews and your revisions based on those reviews. And the truth is, we might not be able to get your original reviews. So there's a bit of a trust aspect of this on the summary of reviews. The fact that we can get your reviews, though, it's possible that we can get your reviews, will hopefully minimize any potentially deceptive behavior in the summary of reviews that are being submitted. And then based on that, we will go through a review process, and we're hopefully going to get back to you within about 3 weeks as to whether or not your paper will be accepted. We do reserve the right if the if something about the reviews is insufficient for us to make an evaluation, we might pass this along to the standard review paper track, and so it will go through a full review with fresh reviews with external reviewers. But we're going to give this a shot and see how it goes. Now, one thing that's really worth noting, again, everything we've been doing has been community focused. And so one of the bits of feedback that we got from program committee members is feeling like they're overloaded with papers. And so to respect their time while also ensuring rapid and quality reviews, we're accepting a limited number of submissions. To be clear about this, it's not that we're accepting a limited number of papers like into the event. We're accepting a limited number of submissions. After 30 papers, 30 is our current number, it might be extended in the future, but after 30 papers get submitted to us, any papers after that go into a wait list. And for right now, the idea is that we are only asking the PC to review up to those 30 papers. Anything else beyond that, that's that. Those are waitlisted. We might review them, we might not, but we're trying to really respect the time of the PC and not overload them. And so for that reason, we strongly encourage you to submit your previously reviewed paper as soon as possible. If you submit the previously reviewed paper to us, without your summary reviews and revisions, just the previously reviewed paper, it puts you in line. So once we get your previously reviewed paper, we will give you about 2 weeks to submit the rest of your materials, but it puts your place in line to be one of those first 30. So we encourage you to submit this early. If you look at the way that the timing works out with these things, let's imagine that you are, unfortunately, maybe your paper does not get accepted to the technical or systems track at HRI. That day, you can submit to us your previously reviewed paper, and you give us the information about it being from HRI. Just submit us the paper, and we will reach out to the HRI organizers and try and get those initial reviews. And then a few weeks later, if you want, you can go ahead and submit your summary reviews and your revisions. So keep an eye out for that December 1st notification from HRI. We're anticipating a huge uptick in papers on that day. So in general, some important dates to keep in mind. The first, and the reason that we're doing this talk today is because on Monday, our paper submission site opens. And that's when you can start submitting these rapid review papers. You can technically also start submitting your short papers and standard review papers. But submission site opens on Monday, and we would love to review papers. Within 3 weeks, rapid review papers, you'll get that notification. December 1st is the standard review paper deadline. So again, note this is also the same day as the HRI notifications. So standard review papers are due that day. By January 19th, we'll give you a notification on your standard review paper, and also the final deadlines for rapid review papers and short papers are also on January 19th. A select group of standard review papers will be offered an opportunity to revise and resubmit the paper for further review, and they'll receive notification for those papers as well as short papers on February 9th. And then kind of going with some different things that we just wanted to do for this event. March 1st, we're asking for what we're calling an event-ready paper. So the idea here is that by this point, you will have submitted a paper that we can make available online for people to read before your presentation at the event. And you'll present this at TAHRI on March 9th or 10th. You'll have conversations about it there. You'll have conversations with folks perhaps at HRI, March 11th to 14th. But the idea is that based on those conversations, you might want to make some changes to your paper. And so our camera ready deadline for the paper is actually after the event. It's going to be the end of March on March 29th. So we really are trying to make it so you have as many opportunities as possible to really incorporate feedback from the community into your final paper. I'm putting this in here just to talk about it. It's not on the website yet. We have a bunch of updates that are going to go live on the website, but I wanted to kind of emphasize more about how we're trying to do things differently and really trying to focus on engaging the community. So I'm going to talk a bit about registration and how we deal with industry partnerships as well. So base registration for TAHRI is $300. However, if you are a student or you are attending HRI, that drops down to $200. However, if you are a student and an HRI attending, your registration drops down to $100. So again, our focus here is really to get everyone in the HRI community talking, and we want you to be at both events. And really, of course, we're also trying to engage students. So we're going to try out this registration model, see how it goes. Also, complimentary registration is available to volunteers, or if you have any reason, feel free to reach out to us, and we might be able to offer you a complimentary registration. So there's an email there. You can reach out to us. Also, if anyone on the call, I think I saw some industry folks on the call. If you're interested in partnerships through sponsorships, for example, we're trying to do a similar model for partnerships. So again, we have our base rates here. However, we're really trying to support small businesses. In this case, these are businesses with fewer than 500 employees, or businesses owned by women, businesses that are socially or economically disadvantaged, nonprofits, and academic research groups and projects. And so if your organization or group falls into any one of these categories of a supported organization, if you're a supported organization or an HRI sponsor, your sponsorship rates go down. If you're a supported organization and an HRI sponsor, your sponsorship rates go down even more. So again, with this, a lot of what we're trying to do is support the broader HRI community while still acknowledging and gathering this more focused community at TAHRI. And so if you're interested, please do go to tahri.org/partners, reach out to the partnership chair, who is me, so I'll be talking to you, and let's work something out. So I'm obviously not doing this alone. I have an absolutely amazing team doing this. They are the real heroes. And I will say, just for anyone who's looking at the slide, seeing the names, I have done a lot of event organizing for years and years and years and years. This is by far the best event organization experience I've ever had. If you have an opportunity to work with anyone listed here, I strongly recommend it. We work probably, our weekly meetings are about 3 hours long on a given day. And every single day, people are just working independently. So there's a lot of time and effort that's been going into making this great for you. And I love this group so much. And if you get a chance, show them love and appreciation, because they've done great. If you want to get involved, probably the easiest way to do that right now, either go to the website, or I'd say take our survey, because this is a great opportunity to give feedback on how we're designing out our program. And also you can sign up for things like you can sign up for the program committee, or at least sign up to be a reviewer at this point. You can also give us a little bit of input on what papers you might be interested in submitting, or how many papers you might be interested in reviewing. And if there are other ways that you want to get involved, please feel free to reach out. You can join our mailing list. Again, you're welcome to take either one of these surveys, and those will be down in the lower left and lower right corners. If you have questions, we do have an FAQ that kind of gives some insights on why we made some of the decisions that we did. We also encourage you to join our mailing list, and you can connect with us at TAHRI.org across all the various socials. So with that, I want to give everyone an opportunity to ask some questions. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot, Ross.
So I'm just so everyone knows, basically, like every element of TAHRI has been developed with input from community. So actually, I see the word, well, let's see. Yeah, everything has been developed with input from the community. This goes down to even our coffee breaks. So literally, at AIHRI this year, we had 2 info sessions, which people could come in and ask questions and give comments. The last day, on Friday of last week, was 4 hours of people from different AAAI symposia coming in and just giving their feedback on what they liked and didn't like about other events. And so we're really thinking of new ways of doing paper presentations, possibly even going with shorter presentations, and trying to promote more community building and networking through poster sessions. We're trying to have a lot more speakers and panels at the event, a lot more representation from, again, industry and government, especially from the industry perspective, what they are looking for from the HRI community and also what they feel like they can contribute to the HRI community. And so again, we're just really trying to think this format through, and we encourage you to give us ideas. We're listening, and we want to make this great for you.
Hey Ross, good to see you. Great talk and really great event. I guess I wanted to ask a little bit more of a conceptual question about, right, you showed that slide of all these various conferences and venues that exist out there, and kind of bringing this group together to focus on the technological aspects of HRI. Do you foresee this to kind of replacing the technological track, systems track at HRI, that people who focus on those topics should only submit here, or is it kind of a rival, or would people be submitting to both conferences? Is it adding to the complexity of trying to find the communities that we need to reach?
Yeah, no, so that's a great question. And this is, I mean, this kind of thing comes up a lot. So the one thing I want to address is definitely not a rival to HRI in the same way that I would say it's not intending to be a rival to HRI papers at any other venue. A lot of this is trying to say that this is one place where the content can go. And the reason that we're trying to time it with HRI rather than doing something like 6 months later, people had expressed feelings of conference overload. They didn't want yet another conference. And a big one was that there was a concern that if we started an event that was completely independent from HRI, we would end up with people who are not losing touch with the human factors and user studies elements of that are so core to creating a good technological HRI contribution. As it relates to the HRI conference and the technical and systems tracks, I also don't think it would ever replace those tracks. If anything, the hope is that this is supplementing or complementing those tracks. One of the critiques that we had heard of the HRI technical and systems tracks is that if you were doing a contribution there, you felt like you had to have novelty both on the technology and on the evaluation. And what we're trying to do is maybe give you a bit of a bridge to that. So maybe say, here's a great venue for you to talk about your really cool novel technology. You can talk about an evaluation that might be an objective evaluation with respect to, maybe existing benchmarks and data sets, right? And this is a venue for that. And then separately, you might contribute something else to the technical or systems tracks at HRI when you've done maybe a much larger evaluation where the evaluation itself can be a major part of your contribution. And so if anything, our goal is to simply be complementary to it. There's another one, which is just a practical side of things. As of, I believe this is still the case, but there is a fixed acceptance rate at HRI. And so you could have a really high quality paper that just doesn't fall into that acceptance rate. And so if your paper falls through the cracks there, we're there to catch you, right? So we're on the other side trying to say, hey, here's still a place where you can come and be with other like-minded people in a larger mass. So rather than being a small group at these different venues, it's one place where we can all be gathered. And again, also we're trying to be inclusive. So we're fully anticipating there's going to be some more junior research that's coming through that does need some help in fleshing the idea out. We still want you to be included at the event so you can talk to the right people so you can properly flesh out your work.
Thank you. That sounds great, and I'm going to sign up to be a reviewer. I'm excited.
Boom, love it. I don't know if everyone read the terms and conditions, by the way. By being in this call, you agree to be a reviewer. That's not true. I want to be crystal clear.
Hello, Ross. Good talk. Thanks for the talk. I had some questions. Maybe you didn't figure it out yet. It's maybe part of the surveys. How about the accessibility of the papers? Will there be open access? Will the review be open access? Who will be the publisher if there is any? Could you tell us more about this?
Yeah, so the publisher will be ACM. The reviews will not be open access. It's definitely something we had discussed and we might consider doing in the future, especially for the rapid review papers. The challenge that we were facing there, if people want to talk about review, who owns copyrights and reviews, I would love to have that conversation, but I don't know that we have, that's a whole presentation in itself. So we can't do open access with the reviews that we're collecting through the rapid review process because the reviewers will typically own the copyrights to those things. We can get a release for them, but even then, there's a question as to what we can do, how broad our release can possibly be. Also, it's not always the case that the reviewer owns the reviews. And so, at least for this first time around, I would say that the reviews will not be open.
I don't know if you mentioned it this during the talk, but I was wondering if you have like some part of the, so if a part of the reviews take into account the availability of the code, and if you have a reproducibility aspect for the evaluation.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely. So a major part of our review will actually have a dimension or criteria for evaluation that is focused on replicability. And so one of the things that we're encouraging authors to do in their papers is actually have a dedicated, a short dedicated section that's sort of like a note to a practitioner or note to someone who wants to actually employ what they've been talking about in this paper. And so that might be an area where you might share code or other external resources that are focused on you putting this into practice or use.
Cool. And how close to a product needs to be the technological advantage? Like, because we might, like, for example, in my case, like recently I've been working more like on simulations and stuff like that. So I don't know if this, even though there might be some novelty, I don't know if this might be of some use of someone, and if this could be considered a sort of a technological advance. If you are working more, like you mentioned algorithms, but I don't know, like what is the point, like the
like what is a line that dictates novelty? I mean, in general, I would say that anything that is moving the field forward, you know, and as a researcher, I think we're all used to, you know, small improvements on this very, very large field we're in. So anything that is sufficiently moving the field forward, and in particular for us, I would say anything that, if I as a practitioner have a problem and what you are offering me is a solution to that problem that helps me build out my HRI system, that I think would be something that
that you
would be
more, yes.
appropriate and that we would value at TAHRI. I will say though, like we are trying to be very, very inclusive with the community. You know, even if it was a short paper, I think that with short papers, a lot of these are going to be like almost like just desk review kind of stuff. So we get the paper, and a lot of what we're evaluating is this relevant, and would this create conversation at the event? And so even in those cases, it doesn't necessarily have to be the most mature work as much as, do we want to get you in here talking about this thing? If you're in the early stages, if it's work in progress, that's really, really appropriate for our short papers. And we would love for you to be around other like-minded people who either could contribute to what you're doing or could really benefit from what you're doing.
Okay, thanks.
So I will say it's always scary when there's something new. And also on top of that, this is different. We've intentionally built this up as our own independent event so that we had maximum flexibility to try new things. Some of these things are going to fail. So we know, everyone on the team knows some of the things that we're trying are not going to work. But all of this has been driven by feedback that we've gotten from the community, and our hope is to just, you know, meet your needs. There is some apprehension to, there's always apprehension to submitting to something new. But, you know, because it's not established, but things become established when they become established, kind of thing. Like, you've got to participate to make it established. If it doesn't go well, there might not be a second one. or if it doesn't go well, there might not be opportunities to engage, have TAHRI perhaps meet with other venues. And so, this is an experiment, but we need you to participate. And so, please do consider submitting papers. Please consider reviewing. I know everyone's probably tired from HRI reviews that were due last night. I am too. But we want you there, and we want this to be great. And good or bad, we want your feedback so that we can be better moving forward.
And do you plan to have formal proceeding? I don't know if you mentioned that. Like formal proceeding, and also some collaboration with journal or for later publication.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, I mean, the proceedings are going to be indexed and archived with ACM. So these are archived proceedings. And then in terms of journals, it's something we're discussing. I think I would love to have a path to extend papers for a journal. And if the submissions warrant it, then I think we would definitely go down that path. At the same time, like transactions on human-robot interaction is fantastic.
Yes.
Like I would say, if anything, I would almost just direct you to go that way. We might have a special issue, but there's a lot of high-quality technological HRI work in transactions in THRI, but that's not necessarily a gathering place, right? It's a gathering of the content, but not of the people. And so that's kind of what we're trying to focus on right now.
Yes.
Cool.
Thanks. Do you plan to sponsor some students or even like faculty that for traveling there?
It's a great question. Yeah. So a few things. One is like we said, for any volunteers, registration across the board. Registration will. We're very flexible, we'll say, in registration for, in particular for students, as well as speakers, panelists, et cetera. In terms of travel, we do have some partners who are interested in their form of sponsorship coming in the form of travel stipends. And so in that sense, yes, we will be able to offer some travel support. But again, that is through the support of partners and sponsors. So again,
Depends.
but if anyone, if the community needs something, reach out and we will do what we can. This is the very nice thing about us being in charge of some of these things, is that we can be extremely flexible with how we get people there.
Cool.
Right.
Thanks a lot.